let's see, then from that.
And I know you worked so many jobs, so just go to whatever makes you happy. Like what do you recall?
Let's see, I went to work at a Western store because I thought that would be kind of fun. Yeah, I was quite a salesperson. Let's see, what other jobs did I do? Well, I decided I could be a bartender. Well, actually, I worked as a waitress. Well, you would know, Susie, how hard that is on your body. And at that time, you carried everything in a big tray. And it was called Bernard's. And it was a very popular place in Arvada. And that was right after we'd moved to town. Finally got this house. It was my first house we're buying. But I had to work every Sunday, and it broke my heart because you guys always got to go somewhere with Homer, and you went to the sand dunes and different places that I never could go. But anyhow, as I go, and finally, my arms got tired so bad from carrying all them trays. So when I worked sitting up on, I think it was a Tuesday night, was everybody could go in and have a few drinks free at the waitresses. I don't know if we just figured that out or that the boss wasn't around. So we did it. Probably he didn't go
That's
along.
what you're
Yeah. But that was our happy hour. But one night I went to happy hour and we were drinking Bacardi cocktails. I had never drank them. Oh, they're good, really good rum drink. But I got ready to go home and I was so drunk. Oh my God. And the bartender, thank God, said, you probably shouldn't be driving. I'll take you home. I said, okay. Well, moved into town. All those houses looked alike. And he said, where do you live? I think it's over there. This poor guy is driving around. What do you think? No, I don't think so. I learned to tin bar. The drink, the lot lighter those trays did. So I went to work there, and Walt was nice enough to teach me how to make drinks. But I didn't realize that when you're out on that floor and people are drinking, you're liable to get grabbed, pinched, whatever, and I did not go for that. So I thought, well, I gotta learn another trade, so I'll be the bartender. So you got a table in between you and everything. So I learned how to make all their drinks and stuff. And that's when a brand new bar opened up in town, in Arvada, called the North Park Lounge. And I thought, man, that looked like a pretty nice place to work. So I'll go down and apply for a job there. So I did. While I was in there applying, I'm like, God, these girls wear short skirts. And one in particular, she worked behind the bar, at the bar, and she'd bend over to get a beer. Well, her skirt was so short, and I was like, ooh. And so finally the boss came over and said, well, what do you think? And I said, I don't think I can work here. I said, there's no way I'd wear those short skirts. And he said, oh, that's okay. You could wear your pants, whatever you want. I'm like, okay. So I had a reputation of really being a good bartender, knew all the drinks and could really make them fast. So I went to work there. Well, I didn't realize what all was going on in that bar. It was a call girl place. Only I was perfect, their cover for that. And well, one day I was working there one night, and all the help kept calling in, and they were sick. Everybody had the flu at one time, and a storm came up that night, and our lights went out. And I'm still trying. I should have locked the door, not let anybody in, but it was already full. So I lit a bunch of candles and kept everybody together, and we all kind of had a pretty good night. But what had happened there was something else happened in between. Well, when it happened, it was everybody got called to the grand jury. They got caught for prostitution. And I was the only thing that saved their ass. I was a sweet little bartender, didn't know, I was too dumb. But it really helped them.
There's a difference between dumb and naive.
Naive, I was naive, very, yeah. And I didn't realize that these guys used to come in and, oh my God, the tips they left me was fabulous. Well, it was the mafia guys. What was their name? Yeah, it's the big shots in the mafia. That's who was paying me off. And I was really naive. I thought they were really good guys.
Yeah, listen to that.
Yeah, that was pretty scary. Oh, then he came along, my boss, George. They opened another bar, the same company. And of course, I was their bartender there and everything. And he says, when lady comes in, he said, here, Joanne, sign here. And I said, what? He said, you own half of a bar. And I'm like, what? But I had told him about this bar at Louisville. I said, I knew some people that they needed badly to get rid of. It was old. It's an old mining town, Louisville. And the building was really old and everything. But, well, I'll paint it. Oh, I painted in there. And, of course, nobody was around to help me when I needed help. But, you know, had the other half owners, they didn't show. But, yeah, I finally got it cleaned up enough to open it. And I thought, well, to get customers, because all the old miners and the old Italians, they would go to Pasquale's bar, I'm sorry. And then they started coming to mine to see what was going on. So I dropped the price of beer to, was it a quarter or something really cheap. And it really made Pasquale mad. So he would, if he had a mean drunk or an ornery drunk, he'd give him money to send him down to my place.
Ooh.
It was a nightmare owning that place, I'll tell you. And I had pool table, shuffleboard, and all that, and a big room in the back where I had dances on weekends. But sometimes it paid, sometimes it didn't. But anyhow, so I thought I had it sold. I'd advertised it, and the guy that owned Safeway store in Broomfield made an offer on it, and we agreed and everything. And he gave me a check for $5,000. And for some reason, I knew that check was no good. But I never said anything to him, and I held on to it. And he was going to take over all my inventory and everything else. And the night before, my bartender was Gene, big guy. And I said, you know, that check's not going to clear. I know it's not. And he said, you call me. He said, if he calls you and says that check is no good, you tell him it's too late. It's already at the bank, that Gene took it to the bank. And he said, if he calls me, I'll say, I already took it, sorry. You know. And that's exactly what happened. Next morning, phone rings, don't cash that check. I'm so sorry, but it's no good. I said, no, sorry, bud, you're a bit late. And I said, your check's already been to the bank. And that is big enough that is deliberate fraud, and you're going to jail unless that check's good. God dang it, that get him going. But anyhow, he almost went to jail over it, but his mom bailed him out. And I don't know, somebody else, anyhow, he raised the money and I got my money out of the bar. But that was horrible. But I don't know if you guys remember, I came home at night with all this cash and I'm throwing it up in the air.
I remember that so well. That's
Do
a
ya?
big part of my life.
Yes.
Yeah, when I get cash, I do like to throw it up there.
I was so, because I could have lost every penny.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I gave up to the bar for a while after that. But that's what got me started was I'd had enough of these two-legged animals in the cars. So I got me some four-legged animals.
That's great.
Yeah. But, yeah.
We had a lot of experience. How long were you a livestock dealer?
For about 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I was probably the very first woman livestock dealer in Colorado. Because you had to have a license to do that, too. And did you know that anytime you sold even a baby calf, you had to have a cattle inspector come out and write a bill of sale? And that had saved my neck more than once, too. Because later on, I started order buying then, because I was going to a livestock sale pretty near every day somewhere. And I'd drive as far as Lyman or whatever. But I found feedlots in between that would pay me, I forget how much a pound it was, if I could bring healthy cattle in and they would just buy them for me. And so that paid my gas more than anything to get me back and forth to sales. I used to go to Salida every week. That was quite a little drive, with just to pick up with Rex then. And then I finally ended up getting a bigger truck, a ton truck, and a big cattle or a trailer. And I'd go every day off to Sailboard. And at first, when I started, guys were just mean. And they didn't know what to think about me, even to show up at all the sales. And then they finally thought, well, she's pretty harmless.